10 changes for Pep Guardiola. Haaland coming off the bench wasn't his night either, and it's back-to-back defeats for Manchester City too. Mario Melchior is with us. 10 changes?
It's a lot,
isn't it?
I mean, we were looking at it, they're playing Leeds at home at the weekend. Now, is there such a thing as a given? I mean, I suppose there's not, but it doesn't get much easier than that. So did he have to make all those changes? Probably not. Will he qualify? Yes. But like winning becomes a habit, so does losing becomes very detrimental to your mentality, particularly when you're not keeping clean sheets. They could have lost another 2 or 3 goals at the weekend at Newcastle, but for Donnarumma, who didn't play tonight, but he's been excellent. But even he couldn't keep them in that game at the weekend. And so, you know, if you're looking to put a run of results together, which Man City are, particularly in the Premier League, to try and hunt down Arsenal, you need something that's sort of giving you some continuity and some consistency. And they never got that tonight. That was too many changes and just another poor defeat.
Because what happened, you lose the fear factor. You know, in years gone by, when Man City was 7 points behind Arsenal at this stage, I think in a couple of seasons, you went, oh, Man City are going to win all their games from now to the end of the season, and Arsenal are going to have to do well. And people were frightened of Manchester City. They didn't want to go and play them. It's how can we stop them scoring rather than go and attacking them. Now you can go and attack Man City. There's lots of spaces to play. They've lost that fear factor, which is a big blow for them.
It's interesting, Mario, because Pep Guardiola said after the international break, the season starts now, and it's been back-to-back losses for him.
Yeah, and also the time where we are, right? Because we're now coming towards the end of November, and now December we always talk about that's when leagues get won. December, January, those are the very important and the key things. But Robert said, you know, look, when you come close to the likes like Arsenal, and that's the team in form. Everybody sees that, watch them, it's like that's the one that you want to catch up to. But then you're getting so close and you lose the game, and then you lose this one. Now, this is also momentum, and they're losing the momentum. And if you're hot and cold, it's going to be very difficult. And also you need more guys that can score goals, because he left Haaland on the bench, brought him on after, and okay, he had 2 opportunities, but I think Flecken had a really good game, you know, the goalkeeper from Leverkusen. But away from that, if they keep going like that, it's going to be very, very tough for them just to make sure that they stay up and can get that race going, what we just talked about.
Who have you got? Go on.
No, I'm just saying, I was thinking back to the weekend. I was just thinking about how Man City cover up their deficiencies. And you could argue the weakest point of their team is the 2 full-backs. Yes, Nico Riley has done well and he's played for England. He's a good young player. But he's not a left-back. Matheus Nunes is not a right-back. So they can get exposed. Newcastle did their homework at the weekend. It was Jacob Murphy and Harvey Barnes. And because, and he's going to have to figure this out, Guardiola, because City played as narrow as they did at Newcastle and as they do, they had Cherki and Phil Foden in behind Erling Haaland. Whenever they coughed the ball up, all Newcastle did was, as soon as they won it, they went wide. And the fullbacks, Lewis Hall and Livramento, in the first 45 minutes, had more touches than anybody else in the field. Why? Because every time they coughed it up in midfield, or Newcastle won it back, they went wide and they had a 2-on-1. So he's going to have to figure out a way to get the balance right in this side. Yeah, it's all very well saying, well, Foden will play and Cherki will play and Haaland will score goals, but when you're not as dominant as you once were and you're losing the ball, teams are going to pinpoint your full-backs in your wide areas, and Newcastle did that brilliantly at the weekend, and that is something that Guardiola is going to have to figure out. Otherwise, that is going to be one of the sides to their 11 and back 4 that is going to be exposed. And as I said, Newcastle did a brilliant job of that at the weekend.
Is the depth of the squad strong enough to balance throughout these competitions that he's in?
He's got a big squad, but is it full of quality? Is it full of proven players that are constantly winning week in, week out? No, you know, when you see some of the players, like Marmoush has come to the club. You know, we saw playing Bundesliga and you thought, what a good signing that is. He's going to do this, he's going to do that. He can play up front, he can play wide. And he has 1 or 2 good games. But because he's not playing consistently, and then when he does have the odd bad game, he gets left out of the team, he's lost his confidence. So a lot of those players that came into the side today won't have been high on confidence. Nathan Ake's a good example, who 2 years ago was one of their better defenders. Now, because he plays irregularly, he can't get his form right, and he's lost his confidence, and he knows the manager doesn't quite fancy him as much as he did before. So that big squad isn't quite as good as it should be.
Well, it's time for the glasses.
Oh dear.
Because you really did ask about Man City squad, right? Right, you really did ask. Nouri they signed, he played. Kushinov they signed, he played. Nico Gonzalez, They paid 60 million, I think, from Reinders, from Milan. Oscar Bob's been. They all played, and you go to the bench: Ruben Dias, Erling Haaland, Ryan Cherky, Jeremy Doku, Bernardo Silva, Josko Gvardiol, Donnarumma, Mateus Nunes, Nico Riley, Phil Foden on the bench. I mean, come on, there is no excuse here for Man City. This is one of the best squads in European football. Yeah, it might have some balance issues. That's their problem. That is their. If there's balance issues, that is City and Guardiola's
Is he getting the
problem.
best out of that squad?
Well, why is Mateus Nunes playing right back still, and why is Nico Riley been playing left back when they signed Ait Nouri from Wolves, who they knew couldn't defend? Because if you watched him at Wolves, he couldn't defend. He's good going forward. He's not a very good defender. Guess what Man City needed? Good defenders. They needed, when they won the Champions League, the year they won the Premier League and the Champions League, they gave up a bit of going forward for a bit of solidity. And they needed that for the final against Inter Milan because they didn't play well. But they had a little bit more solidity. They've gone back to the old gung-ho City. We'll play two attackers at full-back and we'll do... They have a giant squad.
Is it good enough?
Well, it might not be good enough because of these positions that I'm talking about, particularly the full-back positions. But you look at the team they had out tonight, going forward in particular, and you look at all the players I talked about on the bench, that's incredible. But if they've not solidified the right-back and the left-back positions, that's on them. Because they've spent enough money, they've brought players in, but they've not brought in the right profile of player. And if that's the case, there's nobody else to blame but Man City.
This season, because of all those players that Craig just mentioned, this was going to be the rebuild. Okay, last season we didn't play particularly well, we had all those bad results. This is the season where we're going to rebuild, we're going to change the philosophy slightly. There are all these new players coming in. This is the start of me building another big team. At the moment, I don't quite see it happening. It's a good team, but it's not going to be a great team at the moment.
Yeah. Right. Sorry.
Yeah, but
there's just...
Brother,
if you look at it...
You guys don't think that they...
Go on.
Yeah, what I also think that's happening, at City, is that people starting to understand the tactical side, how they want to play. Because every time when City wants to control the game, and he's like that, he wants to be on the ball. Every time he wants to control the game, he's on the ball. They are standing in a position where they can be exposed. And every time they get exposed like that, soon as they make a mistake, if they lose the ball, it's like what Craig said. Like, let's say the right and the left side, one goes up. You understand? And they get exposed. There are three at the back. If they don't have the defenders that are capable to go into corners and cover them up, they're going to get exposed. And it's always been like that. This is not something new that Pep is fighting with. Because when Pep has the ball and he knows that people have fear in them to compete with them, he has no problem. But the moment when people feel we can beat them and can bring a game to them, that's when he starts
That's the fear factor.
problems.
I say they've lost the fear factor. And that's the key thing to it. Teams and managers are no longer frightened about Man City. Yes, they know they've got good players. They know Doku can cause problems. They know Haaland's a brilliant striker when he gets 1v1. They know all those things, but they know they can also attack them. They can get in behind them. They can play around them. Because at the moment, they're not that all-round team.
It's like Barcelona in a sense. They'll give you chances. And is there any coincidence that two teams that should be the biggest challenges to Arsenal this year, and okay, you might throw Chelsea in the ring, and that's fair enough. But if we're talking about at the start of the season, the two sides that we're expecting to be in a three-way fight were Liverpool and Man City. And Liverpool have their issues, there's absolutely no doubt about that for everybody to see. But so does City. And where are the biggest issues for both sides? Fullback. Liverpool, they basically lost the right back, and Andy Robertson can't do it anymore. They've got problems at right back, they've got problems at left back. City have the same. The full back position is a very, very important position, not only to the attacking phase of the play, but having a unity within that back four. Neither Man City or Liverpool have that. Guess who has? Arsenal. They bought the players to make the changes, whether it's Calafiori or Lewis Skelly or Ben White or Hurricane Timber or whoever it is. They've addressed those positions.
Are you trying to say that the best player on the field should be the right back? That's why Mario played at right back. Well, that's what he's going to tell us in a minute.
That's why Trent Alexander-Arnold got the big move.
Robbo, I love you, Robbo. I love you.
It's an important position,
you see
Mario,
now,
is it?
that's why listen, that's why I'm back. You see, I want to speak to Robbo. Come on, Robbo, give me some more love, man. I love it.
Mario like that.
That's why he gets on shows like this.
Yeah. And Kasper Hjulman will have liked what he saw from Leverkusen tonight, managing to bring their league form.
Well, Pep Guardiola made 10 changes to his Manchester City side last night, including dropping Erling Haaland to the bench in what proved a costly error by the City boss. They lost 2-0 at the Etihad against Bayer Leverkusen, and Guardiola admitted he was being too nice in his attempts to give players minutes. Despite appearing in the second half, Haaland didn't score for just the 4th time this season. And how about this? In each of those games, City have lost. So if you stop Haaland, do you beat Manchester City?
They try to do it. There's never one player, but yeah, when you are in a big team, you have to, show off and yeah, it's a lack of the other one, but everyone, the guys who come from the bench was the same, and maybe players that play regularly lately, and maybe we'll have be confident for the new players come. Always I like to be sometimes too nice and to be involved everyone, but honestly it didn't work and I have to accept it.
Right, let's get straight into it. We've still got Jody Morris in the studio and City fan Matthew Kerr joined us. Right, Jody, I'm going to start with a question for you. So Erling Haaland, as we've said, he's failed to score in 4 games this season, and Manchester City have lost all 4 of those. How big a problem is this for Pep Guardiola?
Yeah, I think it is a problem. I think that it's certainly looking like if he doesn't score, they don't get a chance. I mean, in fairness, him only playing after an hour or something last night doesn't give you the best chance of scoring anyway. But if you look back at the most successful City sides over the past few years, you always had people chipping in with goals. Mahrez, Sterling, De Bruyne, Gundogan,
Silva, yeah. But
you don't find anybody in this group of Man City players where you think, okay, you're going to chip in with double figures or even like sort of high single digits. So it's certainly looking like a problem.
What do you think, Matthew?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, there's players across the board that are capable of scoring those type of goals, but not enough of them are stepping up at the moment. I mean, we've had glimpses this season. Foden's got a couple of goals here and there, but ultimately, I can't argue against it. Erling Haaland's been our top goal scorer, and behind that, it's looked pretty bleak. The likes of Savinho, Doku. I mean, Doku has shown promise this season, but Savinho especially is becoming really frustrating as a City fan to watch. So hopefully something changes, but at the moment, yeah, it's looking a bit bleak.
Yeah, looking bleak, but how worried are you about it? Because you've listed some players there. There's loads of players who are capable of doing it, but they're not. And this over-reliance on Haaland is something we've talked about for quite a while. We're not far off December now, and it's still. I mean, I know last night was Champions League, but in the league, you know the stat. Your second top scorer's own goals.
I know. It's not a great watch, but at the same time, if any team has Erling Haaland, I'm sure there's going to be an over-reliance. You know, you look at Bayern Munich with Harry Kane, it's pretty similar. Maybe not as extreme, but it is pretty similar. You've got a top goal scorer in Haaland, but a frustration of mine is Omar Marmoush. You know, we brought him in last January for 70 million. Came in, hit the ground running, scored hat-tricks, got the goal of the season last year. I think people forget that as well. And he's been so limited to minutes. I know he had an injury early on in the season, but I think Pep trying to squeeze in the both of them. We've not really seen Haaland and Marmoush be paired together. You see last night we're chasing the goal. Haaland comes on, like Jody said, probably a bit too late in the game. But he takes him off for Marmoush. I think it would have made a lot more sense to keep a player like Marmoush on, who carries a lot more threat than a player like Savinho.
By the way, with Bayern Munich in the league, Diaz has got 6, Gnabry's got 4. There's 6 for Michael Olise as well. So in fairness to Bayern Munich, they're not as reliant on Kane. But Jody, did you hear there about Pep Guardiola saying that he felt he was too nice yesterday in making those 10 changes? What did he mean by that?
Well, he's obviously trying to give people games, isn't he? He's obviously got. I get that feeling as a coach or a manager. I feel that you do want to try and give minutes or you want to give games, but I'd much prefer to do that in a game where either you're on a fantastic run yourself as a team. I don't know how you feel as fans, Matthew, but I don't think that Man City are looking the greatest of late anyway. So I'd rather just try and get up to speed with the players that are going to be our main players going into the bigger and better games. How do you feel? Because for me, 10 changes is more like a Carabao Cup sort of change rather than a Champions League game against a good team in Leverkusen.
I can't disagree with that at all. I mean, one of the main ones was seeing the goalkeeper change, James Trafford coming in. That, no offence, looking at that looks like we've qualified rotating that much, or like you say, in a Carabao Cup game or something. Yeah, it's not just Haaland. It's ripping out the whole spine, and you're missing Foden, you're missing Diaz, you're missing Donnarumma. These players have been massive for us this season. Yeah, we've not been perfect, but you want to build momentum, and you need your big players to do that. I wouldn't have minded last night 4 or 5 changes in and around them guys, but yeah, you need your big guys in big games, and last night was a big game, and we failed to win.
And in the league, we've talked about this sort of already, you and I, is that your run is actually quite nice in the league up until the new year. But in the Champions League, how big a blow could that be last night? Because your next one is Real Madrid away. And for Manchester City, they want to be in the top 8. They don't want to be going into that extra round. They want to go straight through the last 16.
100%. And, looking at the bigger picture, that's another frustration of last night because, we're at home. We're playing Leverkusen. They're a top team, but they're not Real Madrid. It's a game that you would favour Man City to win. And now it makes that Madrid's away trip even bigger, and that's something that we could have avoided, which is very, very frustrating. And we know what it's like when you go to Madrid. You have to be pretty much perfect. You have to get the rub of the green. And this City side at the moment, I'm not too sure we can get a result at the Bernabeu. And then you're dependent on our last 2 fixtures, and anything can happen across the board then. So yeah, it's going to be difficult now.
Yeah, disappointing night last night, of course. Matthew, thank you.
Mikel Arteta has made it clear that Arsenal will need to unleash their complete player against Bayern Munich. The Gunners host the German champions at the Emirates Stadium on Wednesday, and one man in particular could be decisive. Ebereki Eze, described as a very complete player by teammate Mikel Merino, is emerging as one of Arsenal's most dangerous weapons ahead of their Champions League clash with Bayern. The 27-year-old announced himself in North London with a stunning hat-trick in his first derby since arriving in a £67.5 million move from Crystal Palace. His 3 brilliant goals dismantled Tottenham, and truthfully, he could have scored even more. Merino believes every one of Arsenal's 8 summer signings has lifted the squad's level, helping the team build a 6-point lead at the top of the Premier League. But Wednesday's matchup is different. Bayern Munich, the reigning Bundesliga champions, represent the toughest test yet for Arteta's side. Speaking after the win over Spurs, Merino praised Eze's qualities and hinted at the impact he could have in such a high-stakes European battle. "We've brought in a lot of players who can make a difference. But you can see that other teams have spent big as well," the Spain international said. "Individual brilliance can win matches, sure, but in the end, it's the team that matters. If you have great players who don't connect, that's a problem. The good thing about this group is that everyone thinks about the team first." When asked about Eze specifically, Merino didn't hesitate. "I think he's incredibly complete. He can dribble, he can pass, and his technical quality is outstanding. In Spain, we always talk about players who can connect with others. He has that naturally. He grew up with that instinct to link play, move the ball, and build relationships on the pitch. He also has the mindset to get involved, demand the ball, and influence the game. At the same time, he's strong, he can take players on, and he can finish. He's a truly complete signing." Merino also touched on how the modern game often reduces players to simple numbers. "These days everyone judges players by goals and assists, that's just how it is. But as footballers, we see the deeper qualities he brings, the technique, the movement, the intelligence. Even in training, you can tell immediately how special he is. Yes, he's scoring goals, but he's much more than that. He's an exceptional player, and we're incredibly lucky to have him. He can play in several positions and adapt to different systems. He's been a huge addition for Arsenal." Beyond the technical qualities, Merino believes Eze's attitude, and the healthy competition within the squad, will be crucial in Arsenal's title push. You can hear the calm in Ebereki's voice and see it in the way he carries himself. He's confident, grounded, and every morning we sit together in the sauna at the training ground and talk about everything, he added with a smile. "He's a great guy, already fully integrated, and we need players like him. Competition is fierce. There's so much quality in this squad. That's exactly what the manager wanted, as many top players as possible, all ready to play. It makes his decisions tough, choosing who starts and who doesn't, but it also pushes every one of us to give our best in every session. And that's why we're improving as a team." As Arsenal prepare for Bayern's arrival, Arteta is facing one of the most delicate balancing acts of the season. The squad is healthy, competition is fierce, and expectations have never been higher. But behind the scenes, There is a growing sense that Iza's versatility and calm presence may be essential against a Bayern side known for controlling the tempo in big European nights. Arteta himself has hinted at Iza's importance without naming him directly. After the Tottenham victory, the manager spoke about the need for players who can break pressure, dictate rhythm, and stay composed when the game becomes chaotic. Those inside the club believe those comments were aimed at Iz as much as anyone. The coaching staff has been particularly impressed by how quickly he has adapted to Arsenal's positional play structure, a system that demands far more tactical discipline than what he was used to at Crystal Palace. Analysts at the club point to his growing influence not only in the final third, but also in build-up phases, where his ability to glide past pressure could help Arsenal bypass Bayern's aggressive midfield line. There is also an awareness that Bayern's fullbacks tend to push high, leaving spaces between the lines. Iza's skill set, sharp turns, deceptive acceleration, and precise final balls, could be exactly what Arteta needs to exploit those gaps. Outside the club, pundits have already started circling Wednesday's match as a defining moment for the £67.5 million signing. Some believe that if Iz can impose himself on a Champions League quarter-final against Bayern Munich, it will confirm his arrival among Europe's elite creative players. Former players have echoed that sentiment. Several ex-Arsenal figures, speaking on television over the weekend, highlighted the need for someone who can change the temperature of the match with a moment of calm or an unexpected burst of creativity. Iz, they argued, is one of the few in the squad capable of both. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich come into the match with their own confidence. Their midfield trio has been one of the most dominant in Europe this season, and they have shown a repeated ability to suffocate opponents early. That dynamic is precisely why Arteta may lean on Iza's composure. When the game tightens, Arsenal will need a player capable of slowing it down, protecting the ball, and finding solutions in tight spaces. Within Arsenal's dressing room, Mourinho's praise reflects a broader consensus. Senior players have reportedly been struck by Iza's humility and work ethic, qualities that have helped him integrate seamlessly into a squad that already had strong internal chemistry. Staff members describe him as someone who never forces the game, and lets the match come to him, characteristics that could prove invaluable in a high-tension Champions League tie. As kickoff approaches, the narrative surrounding the match has shifted. What began as a test of Arsenal's resilience has quietly become a spotlight on whether Iz can elevate them in Europe the same way he has in the Premier League. For Arteta, the equation is simple. If Arsenal are to overcome Bayern, they will need more than intensity. They will need control. They will need creativity. And increasingly, they will need the completeness Iz brings to every phase of the pitch. Whether he starts in a wide role as a floating midfielder, or even as an interior playmaker, the expectation is the same. Iz will have to find the spaces others cannot, and influence the game in ways that statistics alone will not capture. The stakes are high, the opponent is formidable, and the spotlight is intense. But within the walls of London Coney, the belief is growing that this is exactly the kind of stage Ebereki Iz was signed for. Martin Odegaard is nearing a return to action after suffering a medial collateral ligament injury in Arsenal's 2-0 win over West Ham earlier in October. Yet, 3.5 years after Mikel Arteta named him captain, the Norwegian finds himself in an unfamiliar position. His place in the starting lineup is no longer guaranteed. For the first time since joining the club permanently from Real Madrid in August 2021, there is real debate over whether he remains an automatic choice for Arteta's 11. Odegaard, now 26, has been central to Arsenal's resurgence under Arteta, the conductor who shaped the team's rhythm through some of their most fluid football. But this season, the Gunners have been forced to navigate long stretches without their captain, first due to a shoulder issue that kept him out of 4 matches in September, and then because of a knee collision with West Ham's Crescencio Somerville that sidelined him again. And during his absence, something significant happened. Ebereki Iz stepped into the spotlight. Iz's sensational hat-trick in the North London Derby has complicated the picture. Now thriving in a central role, the England international has given Arsenal a different kind of presence around the edge of the box. A blend of unpredictability, directness, and two-footed confidence that opponents struggle to contain. He may not control games with the same metronomic precision as Odegaard, but he offers a spark, a willingness to take risks at moments when Arsenal need a jolt of creativity. After such a standout performance against Tottenham, it feels almost impossible to imagine Arteta leaving Iz out. The manager has always had a soft spot for players riding a wave of confidence, and Iz is currently surfing at full height. There was a similar situation back in September, when Mikel Merino was handed a start against Manchester City after scoring 4 times in 2 games for Spain, including a hat-trick against Turkey. Arteta doesn't hesitate to reward form. Ease has carried that form onto the international stage as well, recently scoring a stunning goal for England in a 2-0 win over Serbia in the World Cup qualifiers at Wembley. Though he can play on the left, it has always been clear that Arteta brought him to the Emirates to operate in midfield. And with Declan Rice and Martin Zubamendi near untouchable in the double pivot, the odds of Ease and Odegaard consistently starting together seem slim. That leaves Odegaard in an unfamiliar position. He needs minutes to rebuild sharpness, yet Arsenal's medical team won't rush him. The plan is likely to ease him back through short substitute appearances before restoring him to larger roles. But even once fully fit, Odegaard faces genuine competition, because Ease has shifted the landscape. His arrival has raised the team's ceiling, and his performances have earned him the right to keep his place. Before the dismantling of Tottenham, Ease had scored only twice for Arsenal, one against Port Vale in the Carabao Cup and another versus his former club Crystal Palace, a clever finish that sealed victory. Now, with 5 goals across all competitions, he sits just one behind Odegaard's total from last season, when the captain made 45 appearances. Odegaard's 2023-24 numbers were outstanding: 11 goals, 12 assists, influence written across every competition. That is the standard he must match again if he wants to reclaim his spot, because Ease is hungry, confident, and eager to impress ahead of next summer's World Cup. Arteta will insist that Arsenal need both players at their best if they are to meet their ambitions in the months ahead. And with Kai Havertz also working his way back to full fitness, potentially slotting into midfield behind marquee striker Victor Gyökeres, the battle for places has never been fiercer at the Emirates. For Odegaard, the message is clear: he must rise to the challenge. His leadership and quality remain unquestioned, but he can no longer rely on reputation alone. If he embraces the competition and fights his way back into the side, his return could push Arsenal to even greater heights. And if the team has already reached this level without several key figures, the potential for what comes next may be even greater. Inside the club, staff members are quietly acknowledging that Arsenal are entering a new phase, one where no player, not even the captain, is immune to tactical evolution. Arteta has spent the past 2 seasons building a squad capable of sustaining pressure across multiple competitions, and the emergence of Ease is a sign that the manager's long-term planning is beginning to bear fruit. Depth is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity. But with depth comes difficult decisions. Arteta has always valued balance in midfield, and the contrasting profiles of Odegaard and Ease force him to reconsider what type of midfield best suits the team's ambitions in Europe and the Premier League. The technical control and spatial awareness that Odegaard brings have defined Arsenal's identity under Arteta. Conversely, Ease's dynamism, physical presence, and unpredictable touches give Arsenal a new dimension, especially against teams that sit deep or defend aggressively in central areas. This internal shift has also caught the attention of analysts and former players. Several pundits have begun to question whether the captaincy should guarantee a place in the lineup, especially at a club with ambitions of challenging for the Champions League. Others argue that Odegaard's leadership is too valuable to sideline, pointing to the standards he sets in training and his influence over younger players. Those debates are already spilling into the media, and they will only intensify as the season progresses. There is also the tactical question of whether Arteta might eventually experiment with a system that accommodates both Ease and Odegaard, something he briefly attempted earlier in the season during the win over West Ham. But with Rice and Zubamendi forming an almost impenetrable midfield pairing, any reshuffle risks destabilizing the defensive structure that has made Arsenal one of the most resilient teams in the league. The manager has hinted that he is open to adjustments, but only if they enhance the team's overall cohesion. For Odegaard himself, the challenge is as much psychological as it is physical. He has worked hard to cultivate an image of calm authority, a leader who raises the level of those around him through clarity and consistency. Now he must show that he can adapt, compete, and respond to adversity. His teammates still speak of him with admiration, describing him as one of the most studious and detail-oriented players at London Coney. They believe that once he regains full rhythm, he will naturally reassert his influence. Yet even they acknowledge that the landscape has shifted. One senior player privately remarked that, "The team is different now, Ease has changed what we can do in the final third." That sentiment reflects not a lack of faith in Odegaard, but an understanding that Arsenal have evolved while he has been sidelined. For Arteta, the ideal scenario is straightforward: a fully fit Odegaard competing with a fully confident Ease, creating a level of internal competition that lifts the entire squad. The manager often speaks about the need for healthy tension among his players, pressure that keeps standards high without fracturing unity. The arrival of Victor Gyökeres, combined with the recovery of Havertz, only amplifies that dynamic. Arsenal's season will almost certainly hinge on these midfield decisions. With Champions League knockout matches approaching and the Premier League title race tightening, Arteta must decide not only who starts, but what kind of identity he wants his team to carry into the defining months of the campaign. The next few weeks will reveal whether Odegaard's return sparks a resurgence or a battle for relevance. If he manages to reclaim his place, it could serve as a reminder of why Arteta trusted him with the armband in the first place. If he struggles, it will underline how rapidly Arsenal are progressing, and how little room there is for sentiment at the highest level. Either way, the captain's response will shape not just his future, but the trajectory of a team that believes it is on the brink of something significant.